Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming in today. Yeah, let's get started here. So we're going to look at using the ConDoc tools to create some sections first. And also the format on these things is that I kind of carry on here for, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes showing something that I think is recent and relevant and interesting in the whole 3D world of what we do. I'll go on, and then when I'm finished, you can ask me questions about what we did today or about anything that's going on in your world there. So let's take a look. This is a new demo model I've created. This is called the Boulevard Coffee Shop. This is going into our SketchUp for Professionals Advanced course. So unreleased, but we are still using this model for a few of our tutorials. And as I orb around here, it's kind of a cool, hip coffee shop, and I want to create an interior elevation. All right, so using the ConDoc tools, I can go to Extensions, ConDoc, and under, Settings, I can choose whether I'm creating construction documents or design packets. The difference between these is when I create my elevation or my section, I'm either creating black and white CAD style output, or I'm creating a very colorful design packet type output. All right, so what I'm going to do, Extensions, under Extensions, ConDoc, and Settings, we're going to go with Design Packets, and I'll say OK. All right, let me get rid of these alerts here, and we're going to go to our ConDoc Tools right here. And so what I need to do is kind of, make a little bit of a plan as to where I want to cut through. All right, so I'm just going to say, I'm going to hover on this wall to align my axis, and we're going to elevate this entire wall back here. And then I think what I really want to do, though, is kind of cut in front of this bar. All right, so I'm going to activate my section tool, hover on this surface and hold Shift, and then put my cursor over here and click. Now, what that does, it's going to rattle off section AA. So what the ConDoc tools do is it drastically automates your layers, styles, and your scenes. All right, so I'm going to go to my zoom window and zoom in on that. All right, that's section AA. And then I'm going to right click, maybe just a little further, right click on section AA, and I'm going to choose Update. All right, so now this one, we can turn that off. This is pretty cool because it's actually showing like that whole, this funky shape of the bar. You can see the back wall. We can see the HVAC going on. So it's kind of a cool section. Now, here's the thing is on our section tool, we don't have the furniture turned on, but we do have our decorative objects. So what I'm going to do is go over to my layers, and I'm going to turn on my furniture. All right, so for this kind of colorful presentation, I want my furniture to be turned on. So I need to make sure I right-click on that scene and choose Update. All right, so that's my complete interior elevation. All right, so I'm going to go to File and choose Save, make sure we've got that locked in. And then let's do it again. And I really want to show you the power of ConDoc, and that is, again, automating layers, styles, and scenes. So when I click on Design, what that does, it switches to a different style that's lightweight, turns on a bunch of layers so that I can see what I'm working on, and takes me over to my Design utility scene. So that's pretty slick the way that works. It also does a zoom extents to kind of get you out of that model. So let's do this again. This time, let's see. We're going to do, maybe a little simpler elevation. Let's see if I can get a wider field of view here. We're already at 60. So, let's elevate this back wall. All right. So we're going to cut it right through these dishes or whatever. And I'll just kind of position myself in a view that is strategic for what I'm working on. I'm going to activate my section tool, hover on the wall and hold Shift, and then click in front of those shelves. Now what that's going to do, it rattled off section BB, flipped a bunch of different layers on and off, and then created that scene, named it, switched the style, did a lot of work for me. All right, so we're just going to right-click on section BB and choose Update. All right, so now, again, you can see that our section tool, it's not turning on our furniture. So let's go ahead and turn on our furniture. That way we can see the shelves. They're not floating with those dishes aren't floating. All right, so I'll go to File and choose Save. So we have our two color elevations. So I think the way we'll do this demonstration is we're going to pretend like we've created this model. Let me see. I think there's one other thing. I want to turn off my context. I don't need to see that big building kind of floating back there. So we'll just update this. And then I'll go to section AA. And I'm going to turn off my context. Just extra geometry that we don't need to be rendering. And update that. Awesome. Okay. So a quick point here. ConDoc Tools are going to drastically automate layers, styles, and scenes, but that doesn't mean that you can't go in there and kind of tinker with what we've created. So just like I did there, it did the broad strokes, and then I just have to kind of figure out like, oh, I don't want to see context in this particular section. Let's just turn that off and update my scene. So it's a major jump start. Hopefully out of the box it gets you, where you want to be, but certainly it's customizable. All right, so I'll click on Design. That way we're not on this kind of heavy view right here. And then I'm going to go to File and choose Save. And then we're going to send this to Layout here. But the way that we send to Layout with ConDoc, it's not the traditional SketchUp File Send to Layout. We have this File Send to Layout button. We don't do that because in Layout, we've already created some drawings. So our ConDoc drawings. So I'm going to go to File and choose New. And we're going to go to our New tab under Brightman Designs Templates. And I've got like this 11 by 17 landscape presentation style. So I'll choose that. That's kind of a simple title block with our logo. And then some of the smart tags here. Like if I save this, it's going to fill in that untitled. So I'll go to Desktop Temp. And I'm just going to call this one our Boulevard Coffee Shop. And hit Enter. And you can see it fills in the day, the name, as well as the last time it was saved. Pretty handy feature there. All right, so as I was saying, our ConDoc drawing scrapbooks. I can click on this drop down here, go to our section scrapbook, like that. And we're going to choose section AA. Let's see, this is like our presentation setup, so I'll go with, let's go with 1/8 inch section AA. And then we'll go with an 1/8 inch section BB. All right. So now what I need to do is to relink these placeholder files back to the one that I just saved. So again, it's important that you do save your model because what these kind of dummy cartoon drawings are looking for is that section AA scene. If you created it but didn't save your model, then it's going to be referencing a model that doesn't have that section AA and BB scene. So I did save it, so we're safe to go ahead and relink this back, Desktop Temp, like that. So we're on our auto render. We should see our color elevations or our color sections more so show up. And then what we're going to do in Layout is we're going to kind of trace out around that room, and we're going to use a clipping mask to kind of trim out the what we don't want to see. And then we're going to use some lines in Layout to kind of give some extra added punch to our drawings. So these are some pretty heavy drawings. I'll make sure that my render settings are where they're supposed to be as soon as we catch up here. So auto render's nice. I don't know that I would do it differently. I just make sure that my paper setting's okay. Let's see if this takes too much longer. I guess while that's warming up, let's see. Try not to click things. So what this is doing, let's talk about like why things slow down sometimes in Layout. The reason that happens, so first, this is an 11 by 17 piece of paper, and the style that I chose for these sections, being the presentation style, it's pretty heavy. It's got a watermark, and it's got vector line work. It's rendering as a hybrid. So these sections and the elevations, they both render as a hybrid, which means it has to render all the vector line work once, and then it has to render all of the raster graphics and line work as well that way. So it's doing a lot of work. So for these two viewports, it has to render each one twice. Again, 11 by 17, these are already fairly large. And then the other kind of trick to this thing is like the paper edit quality. And if my edit quality is on high, and this is my recollection, we're working at 300 DPI. If it's on low, we're working at 72, I think. And if we're at medium, we're working at 150. So if you think about it, it's rendering some fairly large images 4 times over. So I don't know. We'll give that just a moment. I'm also on my laptop, sharing my screen, pushing the webcam. We're doing a lot of stuff here. So normally I use my desktop for this, but let's see if this thing comes out of here. And if not, we're going to switch to a different style. So let's do this. I'll go to section AA, and I'm just going to choose a lightweight style. I'll duplicate this. Let me check one other setting here. Okay, we're on high performance. Anytime you're on a laptop, definitely make sure you're on high performance. All right, so as that chugs along, let's go back over here, and I can easily go in here to my styles and just choose a different style. So we'll go with maybe under select, I'm going to go to home, and then you can see we've got like a line drawing style. So if I go to line drawing, and maybe what I'll do here as well is turn off all of my interior objects, decorative objects, and turn off my furniture. So we'll go in here and turn that off too. All right, so we've got our fixtures. That looks better. So we'll update that, and let's go to section BB, and let's kind of do the same thing. Keep in mind, I mean, this is a pretty heavy model. When that rhino is live, there's a lot of geometry in there, and I know that. Maybe this wasn't the best to use on my laptop, but we'll get through it. All right, so furniture's off, and we're going to go to our decorative objects, turn those off. And then we'll go to a style, and we're going to go to line drawing. So I think the point that I'm making here too is that as you move on in the design process, you might switch from presentation into construction documents. So essentially that's what we've done here. So, and I'm just going to go ahead and kill this one. I thought we could get this to work, but I've got too much geometry, and I think the culprit is our rhino. So for this demo, I'm just going to delete that rhino out of here, and that way I think that's going to like really cut back on some of the computing power here. So let's go back into layout and let's try that one more time. This time with a little bit less geometry and a lighter weight style. Alright, so we'll go to new, again 11 by 17 presentation. Let's just check our document setup paper, and you can see my display resolution is on low, so that's a good thing. Under scrapbooks, we're going to go to our sections, and we're going to go back to section AA, and we're going to use 1/8 inch, and then I'm going to go to section BB, 1/8 inch, and we're going to file document setup, references, relink this file, and let's relink that one over, and hopefully this one is going to render out a little quicker. If this doesn't work, I'm going to totally switch gears and pick a real simple model and wrap things up. So you can see, when you look through here, you can imagine that like every little piece of geometry has to be rendered by layout. So if you've got like some heavy structure, this is, it's pretty well built, but like if I turn on my hidden geometry, you can start to see like, everything that's going into this model. I wasn't being real careful. I was more just making it look good. So I wasn't being real careful about all that. And we got all these trees in here too, so maybe that would be another thing I'd turn off. But ultimately it's not too bad of a model. I wasn't expecting it to behave like this. All right, so there you go. That's cool. All right, so now we've got our 1/8 inch elevations in here. And so like this one might be a little bit clearer. All right, so check this out. If I want to turn this into an interior elevation, what I can do is I can draw a line around basically the interior wall. So like, let's say if we were talking more about I don't know, finishes and I don't know, like the final, what am I trying to say, like in a restaurant when you're kind of calling out all the wall graphics or things like that. Maybe we want a more technical drawing. So we don't need to see the structure and all that. So we don't need a section, we need an interior elevation. So what I would do is I'd use my line tool. And what I can do is go over here to my ConDoc annotations, and I might just use something that has a little bit of color to it. So I just clicked on this. And so I'm going to go from here to here. And let me go to my shape style and turn on the stroke here. That way we can see what we're doing. And then I'd go all the way up, and I'd probably go up to that deck there, and then straight across over here, and then straight down like that. Okay? So basically what I did is I highlighted the area that I want to see, and now I need to select what I just drew, hold Shift, and select the other piece. I can right-click and choose Create Clipping Mask. So I need to select both the shape and the viewport, right-click on my selection, and choose Create Clipping Mask, like that. All right. Now, to edit a clipping mask, I can always double-click in, and you can kind of stretch this thing around. But what I often do is I would just go to right-click and choose Copy, and tap Escape back out of there, and I would go to Edit and choose Paste, and throw that exact shape right back on top here. All right. And what I want to do with this is I don't want it to have a fill, and I want it to have like a 2-point stroke. All right. And then I'm going to use my split tool and click on each of these corners here like that. Then go back to my select tool, and let's knock this down to like a 1. All right. So check that out. See, now I've got like, maybe like these guys should go kind of extending, like something like that. It's going to give like a nice thick ground plane. We've got our structure showing up, so you get a sense of the ceiling conditions there. And now at this point, I could activate my label tool. I could soak up the properties of this label here, and then I can easily say like, let me hit that arrow again, and say like, PT01, and this is going to be PT02. So start calling things out like that. So we've got one interior elevation created. Now let's do it again. On this one, I think I would use my rectangle tool. Again, just to kind of speed things up, maybe I'll just click on this top deck here, like that. Move my cursor down here to this bottom right corner, like that. And I would copy this right away, hold Shift, and select both of those, and then create a clipping mask. And then I'm going to go to Edit and choose Paste. And then this is going to have no fill, a 2-point stroke. Use my split tool, split the two edges there. And then again, instead of like, always working inside of this shape style, sometimes it's easier just to like select this edge and tap S, and then soak up the properties of this edge. Click this edge, tap S, and soak up the properties of that edge. So now they have the exact same styles on them. All right. So that's how we create some interior elevations using ConDoc, the section tool, and then clipping masks in layout. Keep in mind, everything is very editable, everything's very customizable, so whatever ConDoc creates in SketchUp, it can always be tweaked. You can mess with your layers, you can add layers. It just is a massive jumpstart on managing and simplifying layers, styles, and scenes. And then once you move into layout, the ability to drag and drop these viewports that are already optimized, they're already set up with the scales, the line weights are set, the per scale, so like 1/8 inch has a thinner line weight versus a 1/4 inch scale has a kind of a bumps up. We've already figured all that out for you, and we've set everything to render as either raster, vector, or hybrid, whichever is appropriate for what you're working on. So again, we're just automating, simplifying the most difficult tasks in SketchUp and layout. That's what ConDoc does. So anyways, thanks for coming in today and checking this out. I hope that was helpful.